Welcome into the Daily Wolves podcast. I'm your host, Evan. We got a special guest in the house today, Lucas Kaplan. He writes for Nets Daily, covers the Brooklyn Nets, lives out in New York. Lucas, we're excited to have you on. We're excited to talk kind of about both of our teams, and we're excited to get an outside perspective on the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. How long you been kind of writing, Lucas?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk both teams and expand, get out of my bubble a little bit. I've been covering I've been a Nets fan. I actually grew up a Nets fan, which is odd because I'm from the middle of New York City. And, I was kind of blogging, like tweeting about them just one day when I was in school, like 5, 6 years ago, and writing for Nets Republic 4 years ago. Bob, the legendary Bob of Nets Daily. You see Nets Daily on Twitter, the famous 80-year-old man who watched Kareem Abdul-Jabbar play in high school. Got me to write for the site 2-3 years ago, and I've been a credentialed reporter for, the last 2.5 seasons. So it's been a wild ride. I've seen a lot of things. But, the Nets are very intertwined with my life, which I guess I'll leave it at that and let the listeners decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, Lucas, I'll share that bond with you. I have behind me Jason Kidd laying it up over Kobe autographed. That was my first team that I fell in love with, was those Jason Kidd, Kmart, Richard Jefferson Nets that made it to the finals and ripped my heart out. And then because I live in Minnesota, I never get to watch them. So I transferred to the Wolves and have been here ever since. But New Jersey Nets, that's what got me really into basketball when I was, 10.
Me too. My dad was kind of like, all right, like I grew up a Knicks fan, but I hate James Dolan. And that was, the 70s teams that I love. So you can, it's up to you. And grew up a Yankees fan. Nets play on the same TV network. They had Vince Carter. They were very fun. They threw a lot of lobs, ran a lot of fast breaks. So I've been here ever since. So just luck of the draw.
What's it like?
I still have my Nenad Krishtik auto from. I thought he was going to be great. So
we're just going to sit around. We're going to sit around and name 2007 Nets role players.
It's happening. We're going to the old bag.
That's what we're going to do. That was my first whiff on a draft pick.
Hey, he was all right. What are you going to ask me? What it's like being a Nets fan?
Well, I always played the Nets back in 2K with like Darren Williams and everything. Like, come on, I was balling on there. But no, I was going to ask you, like, what's it like being around the New York? I guess we don't see because we're in a small market in Minnesota, and we're in the middle of the U.S. Right? But what's it like being around the big city, New York City, Brooklyn, that area? Like, what are the sports fans there like? I know off the record, you kind of mentioned about the Knicks fans. What's kind of like the vibe with that? Obviously, Carl went over there, which isn't your team, but Cat's right there. What are people kind of saying about that, and what do you hear around everything this season?
Yeah, New York is a city where, like, when the teams are good, like there's a lot of buzz, but you kind of have to be good to earn it because there's so many teams. Like when the Yankees made a World Series run last year, the city was like just buzzing. Everyone, you'd go on the street, I'd do like high five strangers wearing Yankees hats. And the Knicks have that presence. I think the New York Giants have some of that presence. The Rangers, when it's like really becomes a hockey town, if they're really good. But you might say that's like fair weathery, which fair, but you really kind of have to be good and create a lot of buzz. And the Knicks have done that. When the Nets were really great with James and Kyrie and KD, they didn't obviously grab the same level of the city's attention, but you could feel it in more subtle ways. Like I was a camp counselor in Maine, and kids would come up from the city, and when the Nets were really good, it's like, oh, okay, like all of a sudden there's a couple Nets fans here. All of a sudden these kids are wearing Brooklyn gear. Like that's interesting. So the city loves a winner. That is the vibe of the city. I think most people have staked their allegiances out, whether they're Yankees, Mets, Giants, Jets, whatever, but winning helps you in the city no matter what.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. Obviously Carl, he goes over there before the season starts. Big trade goes down. Probably shocked you, right? What's kind of your opinion on trade and then kind of the Timberwolves so far, Lucas?
Yeah, I mean, just a brief aside on the Knicks, I think the fact that they haven't really leaned into trying Cat plus Mitch is weird, given how good the Wolves were with Cat and Rudy. I know Mitch isn't Rudy, but just the simile of like the optionality to play Cat at the 5 or the 4. I'm just surprised they haven't leaned into that. And, with the Wolves, from an outside perspective, it's been funny. Like, you go a couple months and you're like, wait, like, aren't they like 17-5 in their last whatever? And like, aren't they kind of awesome? And then you go a week and it's like, wait, like, did they just have 2 horrendous losses and they're going to lose in the first round now? Like, for sure. So from an outside perspective, it's been hard to kind of keep up and know what to make. I watch games on national TV, stuff like that. And you catch a good Julius Randle game and it makes sense. But overall, my outside impression, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that decision making and speed of the offense, and I know they came off this loss to the Bucks last night, has not quite clicked. I think they probably miss Cat's, not even just how good he is, but just the willingness to catch and shoot fire, the willingness to catch and drive the ball to the rim. I think Julius and Ant, you knew it was going to take a while because they both kind of like to play with the ball in their hands and like survey the floor and take time. And so to me, it seems like that's the thing. They're really still figuring it out.
No, I like that. I never thought about that actually with the Cat. I mean, because what you said is spot on. I mean, when Carl got the ball, typically, even last year, Wolves fans know this. Yeah, his decision making was right away. He would catch it, pump fake, drive to the hoop, draw a foul, or try to finish. Maybe he turned it over because he was going too fast. But like Carl would, I mean, he would decide what he was going to do and whether he was gonna force, some type of move. And I think right now, like you said, that's a good comparison. Julius Randle does stagger the ball. So does Ant. They like to kind of dance with it.
Right.
Julius likes to go down the post and kind of go down there and challenge people. And then last second, he'll just like whip it out of nowhere. And I don't even think his teammates know sometimes if the ball's coming. And then Ant he'll dance a bunch and then he'll just stop moving the ball and pull up 3 or again, kick it. He'll drive baseline, kick it to Nas Reed or Jaden or Mike with, 1 second left on the clock. And there you go. It's a shot clock violation. So that's kind of how I never thought of that. That's a good point. What do you think about that, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's interesting when when Julius got traded here, a lot of Knicks fans and a few of the writers got in my DMs and were just like, enjoy the Julius Randle experience. And that's kind of what it is. There's 4 or 5 games where he'll be making crisp decisions. He'll get off the ball. He's invested on defense. And for every 4 or 5 games that he does that, there's 2 games where he's trying to score 30 or he's not as locked in offensively and is just dribbling the air out of the ball. I mean, to Julius's credit, he's very self-aware about it. Like he talks about how he needs to make decisions better, but he's also 31. He's been in the league for 12 years. Like he's kind of a finished product. And I mean, a game like tonight where they're up by 20 and they end up losing by 7, it's just kind of the epitome of that experience of Ant kind of got into his 3-point stat hunting mode, and Julius had 5 turnovers in the 3rd and 4th quarter alone, and the wheels come off. And I think Lucas, to your point, I think the other thing they miss the most from Cat is just like, it's weird to say leadership because Cat is a weird dude. Like he just objectively is kind of a weird guy, but he brought the same like give a shit and try every single night.
Yeah. It feels like they also, sorry, not to cut you off. It feels like they also rallied around him. Like it feels like because he was there for 10 years and because he was kind of the prodigal son, like it felt like it was not like let's do this for Cat, but it felt like he's an easy guy to rally around. And you would know more about like the day-to-day give a shit.
He definitely was an easy guy to root for. And like everyone in the locker room loved him. Like from Rudy all the way down to Jalen Clark. Like they all talked about how Cat was always there to pick up his phone. When Rudy got traded here, Cat picked him up at the airport. Like he's just a good dude. And that leadership going out and Julius coming in, who's good dude. I've never had a bad interaction with him, but he's just quiet. He doesn't he finishes practice up and he goes home and hangs out with his family. He's not having people over for game night every weekend, which that's the stuff that sometimes matters. The other side of it is Ant is now the unquestioned leader of this team. And he's 23. Some nights he's playing Call of Duty too late and he doesn't show up for the next game. And other games he, like the last time we saw the Nets, he just was pretty unengaged for 2.5 quarters. Then he just decided the game was over. So it's hard, I think, for the team to ride his leadership where he's at right now.
Yeah. Then Jordy Fernandez woke him up by sprinting. God, I forgot. Thank God.
Do it. That'll do it.
Thank God he was okay. I wasn't prepared to deal.
Can you imagine? We were going to have coaches boxes. Like if Ant was done for the season, there would be coaches boxes the next year.
I felt like I had to kind of ask Jordy about it after the game, like what happened there. But like, I really, really just didn't want to. And, credit, he didn't bite my head off, but he was like, he said like, I don't have social media. So, like you can let me know what happened. I was like, all right. But yeah, no, would you say that like when the Wolves have, I guess, bad losses or avoidable losses, it's more often like the offense or the defense, just generally speaking?
It's weird. It's usually the ball movement. Like it's more often than not when they have bad losses, their assist percentage is like sub 60%. There's a lot of shot chucking. And the team, again, like they're very self-aware about it. Like Jaden, Rudy, Mike, all of the role players are like, yeah, when the ball isn't moving, no one tries on defense. So it's
yeah.
Again, it's nice that they're self-aware because they can sit there and go, that's the problem. But then that problem has continued to show up the entire season. So it's really just ball movement. When they aren't passing, when they're not playing for each other, the defense falls off. People start, not thinking they're going to get the ball back and just driving for themselves. And then the wheels come off.
Yeah, I mean, cleaning the glass has them as, they exclude garbage time on cleaning the glass. They have them as the 5th best defense and the 11th best offense. But they do say that, or the 12th best offense. But they say their expected win total based on what you would think those numbers would lead to is 51 wins. They have 46 wins. To cleaning the glass, that is the biggest gap between expected wins and wins in the league. And again, from an outside perspective, that feels accurate. Like that feels like what I hear out of Minnesota. It's like it's been, they've been objectively a good to great team, but you can't help but shake the sense of like underperformance, which is tough when you might win 49 games.
Yeah. I mean, if they go to the Western Conference Finals again, nobody would be surprised in this state. That's the weirdest part. And if they go to the NBA Finals, I don't think anyone would be surprised here. If they go out in the first round or the play-in game and they just somehow lose against the play-in 7 and then lose against Sacramento in the 8th or something, like nobody here's surprised either. That's what's so weird about this team. And with that gap is they've just been all over the place this year. A few years ago, Lucas, we had a team here in Minnesota. It was like D'Angelo Russell, Patrick Beverly, Jared Vanderbilt, and they were the same exact team. It's so weird, the parallels that we're seeing in Minnesota to that team. The showing up for big games, big opponents, but not caring against, the Utah Jazz on a Tuesday night, not being able to close games in the clutch, which Minnesota's horrendous at. And then obviously going into the playoffs here, even against the Grizzlies that year, Minnesota, they controlled the series against Ja Morant and the Grizzlies. They were leading in pretty much every game, and they would give up
10-point lead in all 5 games and lost.
That's 5. Crazy.
And just throw it in the 4th. It is weird because I just want you to hopefully, and anybody who's listening, maybe from the Nets perspective, if you're watching Minnesota in the playoffs this year, just remember what I just said, because that's kind of how I see this team. It's just so weird. Just remember that, because they're just a weird team. And I mean, when they're playing really well, you're going to watch them and you're going to go, man, this team is special. Like this is one of the 4 best teams, 5 best teams in basketball. Like they're amazing. But then they just have these mental lapses. They don't move the ball. There's immaturity. The 23-year-old with Anthony Edwards and Jade and Nas, they're all young as well. So it's weird to watch it, but I guess we'll kind of see where they go. How about the Brooklyn Nets? What they've been up to over there? How's their season, Lucas?
Well, I did actually want to transition and say, like, it makes me, I guess, grateful to watch a team that really plays hard every night. And, I know they're only going to win 26, 29 games, but these guys are in a hard spot. When you're in the first year, they're kind of in year 0 of the rebuild because they pivoted last summer and they haven't actually got to cash in any of the assets yet. They didn't add any young guys to the roster. So it's really like the prequel year. And these guys are in a tough spot, I think, where it's like everyone's concerned about the future. Everyone's concerned about the draft assets, where they're picking. And yet, they show up. They play really hard every night. It's not always perfect, but guys have maybe turned two-way contracts into NBA contracts. Maybe they've turned fringe NBA careers into back-end rotation careers. Maybe back-end rotation careers into like eighth man careers. So it's weird because they've been like a really fun and great team to watch, but it's just so much about the summer, the draft assets. They're the only team in the league with cap space this summer. So I try to, give these guys their grace because they didn't really show it against Minnesota, but like they've been fun to watch as much as a 27-win team can be.
They are the team that I've been cautioning Wolves fans of if there's a team that's going to go out and steal like a Nas Reed or a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like
right.
Nas is from Jersey. He like grew up a Knicks fan. Like if there's a team that's going to go out there and throw a bunch of money to get a starting center, it's the Nets. They have it.
It's weird. Like I'm really interested. There's pretty much never been this situation in the NBA where there's one team that controls all the cap space. And they're not really, who knows what they're doing? Like I feel like pretty close to them, and I don't really know what they're trying to do this summer. Like I'm really interested to see how they use that leverage because they have to use it. Like it's a golden opportunity. But they traded for their own draft pick next year as well. So they control their 2026 draft, and it's like, they can probably make the plan next year if they want, like easily. Like throw a bag at a couple restricted free agents, make a couple trades. But like, is that what they want? I kind of doubt it. So we'll see. It's a transitional year, but I'm grateful to the guys for like, having some entertaining basketball. And Jordy Fernandez.
I did want to ask you about just like a couple like selfish players that like pop.
Please.
The couple times I've watched the Nets. What's up with Jalen Wilson? Like he won wasn't he Summer League MVP and like
Summer League MVP?
I feel like there's something there with him. Just looking at Basketball Reference, it doesn't say there's anything there with them. 39% from the field, 32 from 3, but every Nets game I've watched, and maybe it's just the 3 games I've watched, Jalen Wilson has been awesome, but it just seems like there's something there. Are the Nets like high on him, or where's he kind of standing?
They're definitely high on him for relative to 54, 52 overall pick in the 2023 draft. He was almost Naismith College Player of the Year. He averaged 20 points a game, and it's weird because like he doesn't really have a bag. Like I don't know how he averaged 22 in college because he's like really dependent on, he's got to shoot better than 32% from 3. He's willing to take them. There are games he goes 6 of 9. But you look up and it's 32% from 3, and it's like he doesn't really have a ton of off the dribble stuff, attacking the closeout. He's a little bit too slow-footed to really guard guards and like apply great ball pressure that way, but he's fine on defense. It just feels like he needs a skill to get 10% better. And then he's like a bona fide NBA rotation player. But always giving good effort, knows how to play, sneaky high, like rebounding numbers because he just likes to mix it up. Made a slight adjustment to his shot this year. So you hope that leads to higher percentages. But Jalen is a guy that probably will continue to get chances on rosters. He'll continue to be the 11th man that is an injury away from being the 8th man. And what he does with those chances over his next 3-4 years will kind of determine his NBA career.
And then the other guy, I mean, D'Angelo Russell. Unfortunately, he was half a season before I got credentialed, so I never got to enjoy the D'Angelo Russell experience, but I hear nothing but stories.
How is D'Lo?
Your D'Angelo Russell experience?
I want to ask you first, like what's like the general perception of him in Minnesota? Like, do people miss him? Is he like regarded as like, yeah, I really liked when D'Lo was here? Like, I just have no idea because all you hear is Lakers stuff.
So it's been pretty well reported that him and Rudy Gobert did not get along at all. Like when Rudy got traded here, D'Angelo just didn't really appreciate his game and like openly mocked him in the locker room for not being able to catch passes. And that kind of started the get D'Lo out of here train. I think the other thing D'Lo really struggled with is Ricky Rubio came back from Utah the same year Ant was a rookie and D'Lo was here. And they were kind of battling it out for the point guard role. And Ricky Rubio is at sainthood in Minnesota.
Right.
Like he could have a statue for all we know. And I think because D'Lo was the other guy, fans turned on him really quickly. We'll always have the play-in win where he just went nuclear against the Clippers and got them in, and Pat Bev is throwing his jersey in the fans. Classic. But generally, like fan perspective is D'Lo wasn't he had some like cult following, but there wasn't a big like D'Lo's our guy crowd. And then Wolves like media perspective, it's the change from D'Lo to Mike Conley is so drastic that I think people are like, yep, that guy wasn't good for the team.
Yeah, two things. One, I never made fun of the Pat Bev thing. I think that's awesome. Sports are fun. Everyone should have fun. D'Lo has a surprising, I don't want to say stands, but like from like the Instagram swag era of the early 2010s.
Yep.
He had a lot of swag, got drafted to the Lakers, had a sick mixtape, college, high school. Like he has some shooters, which I always forget, but now he's on my team again. And D'Lo
has the ice in the veins, Sally. Like I will agree. He has a intense fan base, fan base that will go at you on Twitter for him.
And hey, he ice in the veins. That's that's a big contribution to the NBA world building. He's stolen a couple games for them. He stole a win against the Mavs that annoyed a lot of Nets fans because draft position and whatnot. And it's funny because he was just the salary filler in the Dorian Finney-Smith trade. Like he was the negative asset in that trade. So I don't think the Nets went out of their way to get him. They traded Dorian, they got a few seconds, and then D'Lo was the salary match, and he just so happens to be D'Angelo Russell. And he's really embraced, he's really just said so many positive things, and players have not always said positive things about the Nets. Dorian Finney-Smith on his way out, like laughed and was like, it's good to play for the big brother, the Lakers. Spencer Dinwiddie hates the organization for some reason. Like he's gone on podcasts and been like, my second stint with them, I hated it. D'Lo's like, I love it here. I love the culture. They're building something good. I'll do whatever Jordy asks me. And he has games where he's stolen wins for them, but largely D'Lo's just kind of been like floating. 11-0 for He's had like 1 for 7 games and 2 assists, and you just don't remember he's out there. Which I mean, the Net I can't really blame him. It's funny that he's doing that in a contract year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's back next year. Like guys seem to like him. I think he likes being the veteran. I think he kind of enjoys that role. I don't really know what it looks like behind the scenes, but I think he embraces it publicly. And, I can see why, like, if he has the ball in his hands, as he does here, he'll do whatever you want. Like, he'll do this system. Jordy can tell him what to do. He likes having the ball in his hands, and he likes being one of the respected veterans. So it's been like a cool match. I'm really interested to see how his offseason will go, but it's been like a funny we've had a lot of funny full circle moments for the Nets in this transitional year where you look back at Basketball Reference in 5 years when the Cooper Flag Nets are standing atop the mountaintop, and you're like, oh, right. This year had Dennis Schroeder, Drew Timme, and D'Angelo Russell. Forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think even in Minnesota had like it's strange because I think when the Rudy Gobert trade happened, a lot changed. Like I think D'Lo in that play-in victory year was kind of looked at as like the respected veteran. He had a lot of guys that would go to bat for him. Like he's an interesting dude. Like if you ask him a basketball related question, he gives you like a philosophical answer. Like
he doesn't want to be doing media, but he does give good answers. But he doesn't want to be there. But he'll talk.
That's yes. But I think when the Gobert trade happened, I think just the way he plays basketball and the way Rudy Gobert plays basketball are just so vastly different that it kind of put a wedge in the locker room. And then it soured pretty quickly where it was, we got to get D'Lo out, even if it's for Mike Conley, who is having a bad year. And I mean, Nikhil was on his third team in 2 years at that point.
It was like a non-asset.
Yeah, he was the throw-in. And it was really just, we need to get this guy out of here. We'll take a step back with Mike Conley. But then Mike comes in and he's been awesome. Nikhil's been awesome. And now it's the D'Lo era is kind of an afterthought. But it is straight. He's a very interesting guy. That's what I'll say. Like, there's a lot to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think D'Angelo, like from the fan perspective, I would say around the state of Minnesota now, it's not a good thing. Like D'Angelo, you bring his name up, you wear his jersey out, anything like that. I think people would say stuff to you if you went to Target Center tomorrow night and you decided to wear an old D'Angelo Russell jersey. Like that's the type of thing people would say something to you or in the bar. I think he rubbed Minnesota the wrong way. Post kind of Timberwolves era, I think he has made some comments, not wanting to be here or that he's, he wants to go play for a. What do you say, Andrew? What's the quote that gets everybody? It's like
he said he wants to go play for a winner, and it was after the Wolves made it to the playoffs twice in a row, and it's like
something like that.
Okay,
and just weird comments on the side, talking about the Wolves, telling them this year when they struggled that they need him to. There was a comment. There was like a podcast with him and Kat, and he's always made these weird sly comments that people here just don't appreciate, don't like. And I think it was, for what he was getting paid, fans just wanted more at the time. And what he was kind of perceived in the league as Brooklyn Nets, all-star, comes to Minnesota. I think
like Steph Curry.
Yeah, learned from Steph Curry. I think people, again, he was still younger for sure. So there was like that upside, franchise player, play with Karl Anthony Towns, and he just never turned out to be that. Not that he can't be like, if he's on the right contract, like D'Angelo, he does what you need him to do, right?
He is good at basketball.
Exactly.
Like he'll average like 18 and 6 assists. Like you can do a stat query where it's like guys to average at least 15 points and 5 assists and shoot this many threes.
Yep.
He also gets a bad rap. This is my weird D'Lo take. He gets such a bad rap for defense, but like watching and writing about him that the first year I was writing, his off-ball stuff is awesome. Like he uses his length. I
read that a lot. I read that a lot in Minnesota.
Fine. You just can't put him on anyone. Like if you throw him in the corner or you throw him like in his zone, he's good. It's just,
he's a smart guy. He's a smart basketball. It's funny because the rap into the shots, but like he's a smart basketball player.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, Evan, I want to get your take on this because Minnesota fans are still doing this. So his first year here, he called the fans out. I believe he said we had weak ass energy.
Yeah.
And that he wanted everybody in the stands to stand and yell until they score the first basket. We still do that.
Yep.
Like 4 years later, we all still stand and scream.
Him?
That's from him. That's from him going on a local radio show and telling all of the fans they have weak ass energy.
No, I think
and
like
4 years later, we're still standing.
He was right to say that, honestly, to an extent, right? So I think there was something that needed to change. The vibe needed to change. Players feed off the energy, and I thought, yeah, like, I mean, kind of, again, a lot of people that grow up now in the state of Minnesota, these kids are growing up with the horrible teams that have always been bad. The Wolves that missed the playoffs for 14 years, that never saw anything. When they started switching that energy even a little bit, they never changed their energy, a lot of these fans. I think a lot of in people that were around, like myself when I was a kid, you maybe forget what it was like when the building was rocking on Tuesday nights, Monday nights, Wednesday nights. Didn't matter the day of the week. Kevin Garnett had that place absolutely rocking. It was full house. It was fun. There was energy when you went down to Target Center. So I think D'Angelo was right to call that back. I think he was right to call out the fans. I think we needed something, and yeah, we still do it today. And I think it's an awesome thing. I think there's no other team in Minnesota, they don't do that. The Vikings don't do it, the Wild don't do it. So it's something that's people remember that when they go to the NBA game.
It's funny because the Nets are going to be, in all likelihood, the story of D'Lo's NBA career. They're the one franchise where he's loved and never kind of rubbed him the wrong way. And he had, the most memorable season of his career. And then they signed and traded him for KD, which no one's going to argue against. He's not even really, what is he going to say? It's not like they dumped him, And he is the I don't want to say like he's the most beloved player of the Brooklyn Nets era since they've been in Brooklyn, but like I'm trying to think, it's people love Joe Johnson. He had a million clutch shots for them and he was fun. The way KD, Kyrie, and James obviously left, it's like they don't have universal praise here. KD's probably people have the most sympathy for, but it's not 100%. Like he asked out. People love D'Lo, and so that's like a funny. It's an interesting twist on his career. I will say I went to I covered the WNBA finals last year in that building in Target Center, and like everyone told me, like, man, these Lynx fans, these basketball fans in Minnesota, it's great. It was loud. I know it was the finals, but like you could just tell, even though like it was packed, people were wearing jerseys all over town. And I was asking people, and they were like, yeah, Minnesota has become more of a basketball state. And like it's a more recent development. Like, I don't know. And it was it was an interesting crowd too, because like sometimes they wouldn't cheer for like big defensive plays or like when a little used sub came in, but there were also moments when they did. So I don't know. It has an interesting place, or I think of it as like an under the radar but kind of quirky basketball fan base. I don't know if that's like a fair assessment.
So Lynx, I covered
the
Lynx
also Lynx. Also Lynx, so different team.
No, I was gonna say I covered the Lynx too and was at the finals. So next year when it's Liberty Lynx again, we'll say what's up. But regular season Lynx crowds are all diehard season ticket holders.
Right.
They are screaming and it's obnoxious. Like I honestly, like, having covered the WNBA with credentials last year, like they have the most like raucous crowd base out there. I mean,
you hear it on TV. You hear it on TV.
Which you don't hear. I mean, Indiana obviously has changed the game, but like the Lynx, their crowd is intense. I think in the finals it was a lot more casual fans that were like, oh, I'm going to go check out the Lynx because they're in the playoffs, which then, they don't know who T. Heineman is and Maisha Hines and stuff like that. So like it was definitely a weird energy pivot, but I mean, me and Evan are thinking of doing something for the WNBA season too. So we'll have to have you on for a Liberty recall. Congrats on Liberty. Congrats on getting Natasha Cloud. I'm exceptionally bitter about that.
That was a great move. Unfortunately, Benaja's out for the season. But overall, that's a good move. And like Liberty are going through the same thing because they have a diehard fan base because they've been in New York for 30 years. A lot of regular season games are so loud and like it's just a great atmosphere. But now they're the hot ticket in town. Now the WNBA is hot. They're in New York. They're in Barclays. They're in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is, more people are moving, gentrification of like uptown Brooklyn. It's not called that, but North Brooklyn. So now they're fighting kind of what the Lynx probably what you mentioned you saw in the finals. Like season ticket prices are going up. So we'll see. But it's great to go to these WNBA games and see like diehards and Rockets fans and all that. And the Wolves seem to have a really strong fan base too. That's the thing. Evan asked me at the top about New York sports culture. Cool that Minnesota has one team for all the four. I mean, most places are like that, but it just, as an outsider, seems like it really unifies the city and the state.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things too, where a lot of people that ask me if I could travel anywhere in the U.S. and I say I'm from Minnesota, and they ask about sports, they're shocked that we have 4 professional men's teams here. But I mean, people just don't realize. They might think they're like, oh, you guys just have the Vikings, right?
Right.
I'm like,
yeah.
no, we have 3 other professional sports teams. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. You guys have the Twins and some hockey team, right? Hockey's big there, right? But I guess you just don't think of it being from kind of middle of the U.S., the North, right? Chicago's kind of known as the biggest city around us, probably. But kind of before we kind of like wrap things up here, I guess the last thing, Lucas, we just want to get your take on.
Sure.
A lot of people listening, they're going to wonder about Kevin Durant, and you got to watch him up close, how he requested the trade to go to Brooklyn, how he wanted to go out to Phoenix. And Kevin Durant, he's been linked to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and what better person to have around than someone who is around the Nets to ask about this. What's your opinion on that when you hear Minnesota at the trade deadline coming in for Kevin Durant? Maybe KD and Ant's relationship, what's that like? And then I guess what's your temperature on the take? Because it's been reported for our guy, John Krasinski, national reporter, that the talks will definitely happen again this summer. They're going to heat up. Same with Shams. He reported it. What's your take on it? And then, is Kevin Durant, when he wants to go somewhere, is that always what happens? Is that what you see?
KD, I mean, it's like a formality that he's getting moved. And so, talks are going to heat up. I said this I warned Nets fans, like, this might be stupid, but I feel like Giannis is gone this summer, unless they make a run, whatever. And I promise you'll hear Nets Giannis rumors just because they're in Brooklyn. And it doesn't matter about the timeline. They love Giannis and he's blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of know what it's like to be anticipating this rumor mill, the churn of the rumor mill. Nets fans have incurred permanent psychic damage from the KD era in Brooklyn because of how it went down and will never recover psychologically. It's broken everybody. That is no fault of KD. He was awesome when he was here. You will love if you get to talk to him. If you ask him a basketball question, he's like, great. He comes with like no pretenses. What I'm trying to say is he's not pretentious at all. Like he'll talk to you. He'll say what he thinks. I love him for that. I love him because he always goes out, tries to play. One of those guys brings it, most every night. Sometimes the off-ball defense, whatever, but like he brings it every night. Loves basketball. I think the Wolves fit is. I mean, you gotta obviously keep Rudy. That can't be the matching salary because then what's the team? It's funny because I'm always like, windows are short. Go for it no matter what. Ant's 23. You're really accelerating the window probably through the end of KD's like career / really good years. You obviously worry about like the ball movement, the passing. Like I love KD. He's awesome. But like if the guys that have the ball all the time are KD and Ant, it's like what kind of shots are we getting? Stuff like that. KD's the best offense KD was ever on was probably when Harden had the ball all the time and was just making decisions and KD was playing off that. Warriors fans will like get mad at me for that take, but I don't care. What do you guys think? Like, are you like, yes, trade? I mean, how many tradable firsts do the Wolves have? Like 3, 4? One?
Yeah.
So let's say you trade that one.
So I like wrote a lot about this because that's the biggest thing in Wolves fandom right now is Kevin Durant. And the Wolves have no swaps. They have like 4 seconds they can trade and this year's Detroit pick. That's it. They don't have any other pick assets. So my take on it has been like, if Kevin Durant comes to the Wolves, he needs to make it ugly. Like he needs to say, I am going to the Wolves. I will not play anywhere else. And I mean, KD did kind of do that going to the Suns. It's just the Suns management ownership arguably is not the best, I would say. And they threw everything in, whereas the Wolves with Tim Connolly and Finch, I have a lot more confidence they're not going to just trade everyone. Mm-hmm. So then it comes down to like, what would Phoenix want? Like they probably don't want Mike Conley. They probably don't want Rudy. Like
so Jaden is a big part of the matching salary.
Jaden's untouchable. The Wolves have gone out and said like Jaden's our number 2. He is our future with Ants. Him and Ants are like best friends off the court. They have kids the same age. Like they live near each other. So then it's like Julius opts in.
Right.
Dante and Rob Dillingham with a Detroit pick. And maybe Phoenix can talk themselves into, all right, we got Julius Randle, Dante, Rob Dillingham, a pick this year, Beal and Booker. Let's see what we can do. But then it's like if Oklahoma City, which I know KD isn't probably ever going back to Oklahoma City as a player, but like if they were to say, here's Chet Holmgren and 17 first-round picks, like that blows the Wolves offer out. Utah can do something similar. Same with Orlando.
Houston could.
So Houston,
yeah,
it's a really weird situation where
as an outsider, it just doesn't seem like it's the right time or fit for a few reasons. But if, there's no such thing as impossible in the NBA. If two sides really want something, they can make it happen. I do think, listen, I would say pretty confidently that his camp and OKC know that it is the one place he could go with no pushback from anybody. Everyone would love it. And I think if they just put J-Dub on the table, it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a possibility. I just don't even I think it's one of those things that doesn't even need to be said. He doesn't need to put it on the whatever. Like I think could easily make that happen. Like, Thunder losing the Western Conference Finals and J-Dub has another bad playoff run. It's like, it just makes so much sense for both sides, but that's a little selfish. People in Brooklyn love KD. They're like, he should come back here. He should retire here. He loves it here. I'm like, I don't think that's happening, but you never know.
I think with Minnesota, the thing that's gotten fans more excited than even KD is that just players are starting to get linked here. Because let's be honest, no one wants to be in Minnesota in February. I don't want to be in Minnesota in February. Like the fact that players are starting to go like, yeah, I'd like to go play with Ants, I think is the number one thing.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with you. Like KD, I think the fit would be okay. Like if they're able to keep Rudy, Jaden, Mike, Nikhil, Clark, and keep all these low usage guys that are just kind of 3-and-D floor general, Rudy and what he does with screens, and we don't have to rehash the Rudy Gobert stuff, but I think it could work. But then it's just the side I struggle with the most is just why would Phoenix take a deal that doesn't have 4 first-round picks? Unless KD's value truly is just tanked, it's hard to see why they would take such a lesser package. Which, who knows?
Who knows? Hey, if it was the WNBA calendar, you might have even more interest. I loved going there in like the fall. Minneapolis is really cool. I had never been. I got a good vibe from the city.
Summer and fall, it's awesome. Winter, it's everyone's crabby. Everyone stays inside. There's nothing to do. But I mean, Lucas, if you want to talk WNBA sometime, I'm down. Like, I think it's a product that is going to just keep growing, and there's just not enough people talking about it. So
and the links are awesome. And hey, the Wolves are in the play. It could be worse for the Wolves. I hope you guys recover from that. That was a tough loss last night.
Well, you'll know expectations. You'll know after Thursday what kind of where the Wolves are going to be slotted here coming up.
You think so? It's like down to it's like if they win, let's say they win against the Nets, they only have one more game after that.
Oh, not the Nets. I'm talking about Thursday's game against. We play the Grizzlies this Thursday on national TV.
Right, the Nets go there,
and
Friday.
Then they finish up Nets in Utah, which theoretically should be wins, but
yeah. Hey, if the Raptors win a game and the Nets lose on Thursday and they go in having the 6th seed, I don't know if like Cam Johnson and Day'Ron Sharpe will play, these guys that haven't been ruled out for the season, but like I'm not trying to big them up too much, but like don't take the if let's say they beat the Grizzlies on Thursday, don't sleep on that back-to-back when you got to play the Nets on Friday. Like that's the exact type of game the Nets have been winning when they win this year, and with no incentive to lose. Like I would feel bad for the Wolves if they have to play in the play-in because they don't take that game seriously. I feel bad for you guys. Let's put it that way.
They deserve it.
Let's be honest. At this point in the season, that's how it's looking. It'll be.
I mean, they're already in the position they're in before we get to the Nets game because of what they've done. So it's going to be no difference.
True.
You do it to yourself. It is what it is. You got to learn your lessons, and hopefully you can regroup in the offseason. And you can come back next year and realize that every game in the NBA matters, and it's very important because it has tons of ripple effects down the line. But I guess we'll see. We'll see. It's been great having you on, Lucas. Andrew, it's been great having you on as well. Come on anytime you're a guest on our show. We would love to talk it in the future. Brooklyn Nets this Friday, Grizzlies Thursday on TNT for the Timberwolves. And until next time, as always, guys, go Wolves.
Go Wolves.